Hey, what's up, guys? Wanted to shoot a video for you today, talking about just kind of an observation that I've made, and just kind of wanted to put it out there. So I have a free Facebook group online that people can join and learn more about overages. It's called Overages, Excess Proceeds, Surplus Funds. And it's really interesting in that group. You know, I started that group last year, pretty small group, and it's interesting to see how quickly people are willing to take advice from people that have no experience in the business. And so this is kind of what I want to talk about today is, one, if you're trying to learn something new, why would you take advice from someone that has no experience doing what you're trying to learn? That makes no sense to me, but maybe I'm missing something. I see it every day. People ask questions and people respond, which is great. I love that people are willing to help. But they respond just based on something that they've read. They have no actual experience in the business. And so that is kind of concerning to me a little bit. And then I see, you know, the person that asked the question, they read this response and they say, great, awesome, thank you for responding. And then they go and they take action on knowledge that was given to them, but knowledge that has no basis in experience. I don't know. I don't know why that, help me understand why you would do that. Because let's say you get, and although I know people aren't giving advice, you know, to hurt someone, but let's say you get advice from someone that has no experience and you take action on that advice and it actually takes you farther away from where you want to be. Think about that for a minute. So here's the second part of this that I want to talk about. There is what you read, you know, there is the law, and then there is reality. And what I have learned is the law, or what is written, and what actually happens are two very different things. Let me give you some real life examples of this. I had a case once where the judge approved our claim for the funds and, sent us a check, right? Here's the issue with that. The judge approved our claim in less than 60 days. Now, in this particular state that I'm talking about, the law says that once you submit a claim, you have to wait 60 days before the funds can be dispersed. A claim is submitted, 60 days has to pass before a decision can be made on whether to disperse the funds or not. And that's just in this state. Well, the judge approved our claim prior to the 60 days. So totally went against the law, right? Did not adhere to the law. Now, I wasn't going to say anything because, you know, our client, the homeowner, is going to get paid, you know, sooner than we thought. And who am I? Who am I to correct a judge? So, but that's just an example, right? Is the law reads this, but that's not what happened. Something completely different happened. And that, I have seen that happen over and over in this business. And frankly, in life, really. Let me give you one other example. When you're dealing with deceased homeowners, I see this advice given that if you're dealing with heirs, and you're trying to recover funds for the heirs in an estate case, You have to open up a probate. You have to open up a probate case in order to get that money. I see that advice given over and over again because they say that's what the law says. And depending on the state, maybe that's the case. But my experience tells me differently. I've worked several cases, some with amounts over $50,000, where we were working on behalf of heirs and we never opened up a probate because we didn't have to. Not once in my career have we opened up a new probate case. There was a case where we opened up an old probate, but I've never initiated a probate case in any of my claims and have successfully recovered funds for estates. Now, I'm not going to talk about how I do that because that's beyond the scope of this video. But I did a whole class on this a couple of weeks ago inside my 60-day group. So we talk about these things in that group because they're a little more advanced, but these are things to know. And that's another example that I want to give you is there's a lot of advice saying, oh, you have to open up probate because that's what the law says. But in my experience, you don't have to do that. And there's a whole other bunch of examples I could give you where the law says one thing, but something completely different happens. Another brief example is there are places where, the law says that after a certain amount of time, the money has to go to the state. That's what the law says. But then you look and you find out that money never gets transferred to the state. It just sits at the county, even though the law says it should go to the state. I've seen that in several different areas. So again, the law says one thing, but reality is completely different. So I guess the whole point of this video is, please be careful of who you accept advice from. Book smarts are great, and they are needed. You need to be knowledgeable. You need to know what you're doing. But you also should have some real life experience before you start giving advice to other people. But hey, what do I know? It's just my opinion. So I hope that helps you. I just wanted to talk about that. Be wary. Whether it's someone online or someone touting a course, be wary of where you get your advice from and who you take advice from. And I would like to suggest to you, if you're starting something, make sure that the person you're receiving information from actually has experience doing what you're trying to do. And I would dare say that that is one of the biggest differences between myself and all of the other educators out there in the overage and surplus funds business, is that I don't just teach it based on what I know, I teach it based on what I've experienced and what I continue to experience because I actually do the business. I don't just read about it and then impart what I read to others. Or I don't leverage, other people's experiences. I use my own experiences and then teach you so that you can avoid the pitfalls that I've fallen into and so that you can see results faster. There is only one other person I know in this space that actually does what they teach and has experience in what they are teaching. All of the other educators, and I'm not dissing them, but I have just not seen them provide examples and case studies of deals that they've personally done themselves. And I don't think they have them, except for one guy. One guy I know for sure could produce hundreds of case studies. But he and I are the only ones that I know of. So take that for what it's worth, guys. Go out and take action, though, and just be careful. Be careful from where you get your advice from. Talk to you later.